On the 28th of March 1999, here in Podujeve, Serbian military and police forces were on their 8th day of ethnic cleansing. 10,000 Albanians were driven out of their homes. Also on that day, members of the Bogujevci and Duriqi families, mainly women and children, were gunned down in a garden in which they'd been sheltering. 5 children, Saranda, Johanna, Fatos, Gen and Liri, survived the atrocity, though seriously wounded. And it was British soldiers who evacuated them eventually to Manchester, where they received treatment for their wounds, both mental and physical. And it's thanks to the care that they received in Manchester that the children themselves created the idea to build the Manchester Peace Park here in their hometown of Podujeve.
People were evacuated and brought to Manchester, and that was a purely random thing. I think that governments all over the world, including even places like the States, Canada and Australia, were receiving Kosovars who could not come back because they had no homes and the country was very dangerous still, the landmine issue and that sort of thing. And in Manchester, because we've got very good medical facilities and there was housing that could be used, there was an agreement to bring people with very severe problems. So one of the families who was evacuated was a family of survivors of a massacre here in Podujeve, where 16 women and children had just been herded up by the Serb police and army into a garden and shot. 5 children were left for dead, but they actually weren't dead. They were taken actually by other Serbs, took them to a hospital, and that hospital had been commandeered by the Serb army. So they were then in a hospital for a few months, but they hung on to life. And then with the liberation they were found, and a British surgeon, David Vassallo, with the British Army, put details of their injuries on email. And it was actually the surgeons in Manchester who responded and said, we have got the skills to help these children.
Saranda and Johanna Bogujevci were brought to our hospital 3 months after they'd survived the massacre. They themselves were severely injured and needed specialist care, which we could not provide here in Kosovo. But what we could provide was a link in to England via email and digital camera, which we brought out with us in order to get specialist advice. And that's exactly what we did. There was no way, when I met them and heard their story, that we would just let them go. Yeah. There was just no way. Their story was too moving, and it was only right that we should help them as much as we could.
The situation in Kosovo is not something that just happened in the late 90s. In fact, it's been safe to say there's been tensions here for thousands of years. In fact, when you sort of look at the history of the area, it's a particularly troubled area indeed. There's just always been tensions between Christians and Muslims. In fact, it's safe to say I think it goes back to like around 1 BC really. However, that's not the point of our trip here. The point here is about reconciliation and peace, and very much about moving on. That's right, isn't it, mate? You're moving on. You just like that radio mic, don't you?
Turn the phone.
Yeah, that's right.
The children asked us if we would make a peace park here, where the massacre happened, in their hometown, to honour really all the people who suffered in the war in 1999.
So it's really the children's idea to fund.
We were in Scotland on holiday, and they were looking at the sort of beauty of Scotland, and they said, if only we could make our hometown more beautiful. It has got some lovely areas, but we know that they've all got spoilt by the war. And they asked us if we'd come out with them and have a look at Podujeve. And we thought we were possibly going to make a small park, in this kind of area. But when we came, we actually were offered 22 acres.
Also here for the dedication of the Peace Park are Manchester group The Travelling Band. They had a very important gig to prepare for that night at the Old Cinema in the centre of Podujeve. Meantime, I asked official band spokesman Joe Dudridge how they got involved.
Our friend Kelly had invited us to do this charity gig. Didn't know a lot about it, to be honest. And I got back and I hadn't been to bed. I had this horrific journey back from New York, and I was like, oh God. And I got back to Manchester in time, pretty much put my suitcase down, picked up my guitar and legged it down my street, which is Hilton Street in Manchester, turns into, crosses Oldham Street and it's Thomas Street. And I was basically in Cup, hadn't slept at all. And and everyone started laughing because I had a new haircut and stuff. So it was kind of nice, but it was surreal. And we did this gig, and it was really fun. You were there. You were.
Yeah, the charity auction. Yeah,
charity auction. We played acoustic, and it was a really great night, and a lot of money got raised. And I ended up getting quite drunk that night, and like most good things happening from getting drunk, I made a bid for something, and then I needed to pay for it. So I went back the next day and just started talking about the whole charity and everything about it. And Pam Dawes, who runs part of the arts and music side of the charity, she told me about the whole background, and it really touched me, the story of the two families and what happened to them 10 years ago. And it just really struck a note for me. And when she said that she wanted the travelling band to come out to Podujeve for the dedication, it was just like, well, yeah, totally.
The Manchester contingent were certainly keeping themselves busy in town. I went just down the road to chat to Stephen Raw, who was working on a very special piece of artwork.
My first involvement with MAK was I had a sculpture in a Chorlton Arts Festival, and Pam and somebody from the Eden Project came up and they saw this sculpture, which was a poem on a golden column talking about the greenery of South Manchester and what an important lung it was for Manchester. And Pam got very excited about my use of language in the environment and making it visible and all that sort of stuff. And she told me about this park in a town I couldn't possibly pronounce, in a country I didn't really know about. I mean, I've been to Greece on holiday, and I've been to the former Yugoslavia and gone through it, and thought it was a bit of a fascinating country. But all my education about Kosovo has come entirely through MAK. Behind me here is the result of some workshops I did when I came out in October, and the invitation for that was simply to paint the word peace in any language that people chose and in any script. And so lots of them did pace, P-A-Q-E, which is Albanian for peace, but then lots of them did all sorts of strange languages. We gave them ideas, and then some of them had their own. And then all that artwork has been photographed and collaged together, and has been printed as a huge banner, 11 metres long, which will practically cover this wall.
And it's going to go up on this. When are we going to get it unveiled then?
We have yet to buy the material. There's only 24 hours to go. Yet to buy the material.
I was going to say, you're running on schedule. Okay.
Yeah.
You looked a bit worried then. That was all.
You can see the eave that's there, and we're devising a way that when the string is cut, the material falls to the ground, but we're going to help that by putting a few weights in at the bottom, because our fear is we're going to cut the string, or sorry, the mayor or whoever the celeb is who's going to cut the string, and the thing just stays there, and everyone's just looking at this grey bit of material instead, which is what is meant to happen. Everybody is going to look at it in awe and wonder as suddenly this huge splash of colour is revealed.
Well, the artwork certainly sounds great, but was it just me, or did Stephen seem a little bit worried about that unveiling? Best leave him to get on with it. In part 2, we visit the Bogujevci and Duriqi family memorials. I get a guided tour of town, and we take a trip to Prishtina, the Kosovo capital, to hit the airwaves and meet a very important person. Podujeve, a municipality in the very north of Kosovo. A group of charity workers prepare for the dedication of a new park built to honour the memory of loved ones lost 10 years ago in the war with Serbia. Manchester folk group The Travelling Band do all they can to raise awareness of the event, while others work against the clock to erect a peace banner due for unveiling later on. I, however, decided to take a guided tour around Podujeve with Mandy, a local lad involved with the peace park from the very beginning and my new best mate.
Before the war, this train used to be the most important thing that people used to travel with it, but it all was before the war. But now, after war, the trains was broken down, the rail was stolen as well, so it doesn't work at all.
I listen to a homeless guy singing about traveling.
He has 2 horses.
Well, what do you do with your horses?
It's so interesting work to do with horses, with his legs, by working.
All right, okay.
And
what does he do with these horses? What's the job?
He fixes the legs for them.
Oh, you're essentially a vet, like a horse doctor.
Yeah. No, actually, doctor, but he fixes the legs for horses by rail, by iron.
All right, okay. And these are your tools then for doing that?
Yeah, he's saying that I have these classic tools.
They look pretty vicious. They look like weapons. That didn't seem too much of a two-way conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to go away.
Mandy, what was that about?
He explained his history.
Like a two-way conversation.
He told us the history of his career with horses, what he does, how he fix legs of horses and these kind of things. Why he spoke too much.
Yes, I can tell.
I couldn't
catch him. He kind of
him.
unloaded on you a little bit there, didn't he?
I couldn't catch him every word.
Can you tell us a bit about this tower then, Mandy? I mean, as soon as you sort of come here, it's like such an imposing looking building. It looks really like daunting. It seems quite...
This is the most high building in all our town, on Podujeve. Before it used to be as proud of our people who worked here, but then the history of this tower changed, especially in a war when Serbians used to stay on the top of it with snipers and used to kill people who were walking around the town.
Just randomly?
Yeah. There are lots of stories about people who were shot it on their windows of houses while they were just looking out. They were shot it. People wasn't allowed to walk as free people on the roads. There were only a few hours in the morning and in evening when people could have free walk.
Yeah.
Otherwise they were all the time under pressure between living and death.
Later on that day, it was time to visit the family's own memorials to the loved ones who had been lost in the massacre in 1999. First, the Duriqi family. And then the memorial for the Bogujevci family, of which Seranda and her cousin Johona, her brothers Fatos, Genk and Liri are all members.
obviously we're here, and I know you've been working like from the beginning, like with the Peace Park and such that. But it's mad, isn't it? 'Cause it's literally 10 years ago to the day.
Yeah.
That a lot of this kind of thing kind of happened. I mean, do people still have like kind of really odd memories about? I mean, it must be difficult because the kids that came to Manchester, like,
Yes.
were very, very young.
Yes.
And almost the kind of things you talk about, you know, when you think back as a kid, you don't quite remember some stuff, do you? It must be quite odd. I mean, what age were you, like, when, like, sort of 10 years ago when all this was happening?
I was 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
When the people from Manchester came and planted to make a peace park in our town.
Yeah.
So that was really, really good news for all the children of our town, because we didn't have enough space to play football, to have kind of drums for having fun. But
I've heard you're quite good at football as well then, man.
yes.
No, because obviously I know you're doing the Manchester Run then, is what you've done the Manchester Run.
Oh yes, after that I've been included with Manchester people in past 10 years working on the Peace Park.
Yeah.
I was invited by them to take place on the Manchester Grey Run.
Yeah.
2 times.
What time did you get? Because I've got to do it, I'm doing the run.
This year?
Yeah, what time did you get? I'm pretty competitive, you see.
Last year I ran 10 keys for 45 minutes.
45 minutes?
I think I had the best result that I have ever had.
Really?
Yeah. That's my first time as well, but I think I did well.
So if I get under 45 minutes, can I call you?
Definitely.
Monday. 44. Is that all right?
Yeah. But I don't think that you can beat me.
No, you reckon?
I was
do a lot of training actually.
I was
to be
on
fair.
my athlete time. That's why I had best results. So definitely you won't be able to beat me.
Well,
let's see.
That sounds like a challenge.
Let's make a deal. If you beat me, I will make you a present.
Right. Okay. And if I don't beat you, I'll have to make you a present then.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I'm going to beat you, so it doesn't matter. So that's fine.
Let's see then until.
I don't think we should talk about that anymore because it's getting vicious.
Okay.
Right. Where should we go next then? What building do you want to hit?
I would love to go next to the river. This is the river called Lopi.
Yeah.
Region of Podujeve who became from 74 villages is called old because of this river that's called Lopi. So by the other people of the other towns we are known as Lopi people, because this river begins to source in top of the village of Podujeve, then comes down through Podujeve and it goes on the way to Prishtina.
Yeah.
So this is one of the beauties that people here has. That's why our built lots of good houses and buildings and lots of nice bars across it.
You said it was like a bit cleaner before.
Oh, it used to be very clean before, but the winter made it unclean.
Right, so it gets cleaned up again every year?
Definitely. Yeah, usually it gets clean on the summer.
Yeah.
And in the summer, I wish you could drink a coffee on these bars behind us. Definitely you would enjoy the times here, because there are lots of really good moments on this side.
It looks good, man. It looks definitely very good.
Well, I felt much more acquainted with Podujeve after that, but it was time to catch up with the travelling band. Rumour has it that they'd managed to secure themselves a bit of radio time out of town.
Yeah, not till 8 though. It's going to be a long day.
Okay, well here I'm in Prishtina, obviously the Kosovar capital, situated about 30 to 40 minutes drive south of Podujeve, where the park's being dedicated and being built. In fact, if you can just sort of see behind me, that's actually the central library in Prishtina, which was designed by a Kosovar student. Don't know if he passed or anything, no, I'm only joking. Obviously it's a big source of pride in the city, and in fact, very interestingly, if you just look right over here, right next to it, is a former Serb church, which is obviously been left pretty derelict and bombed out, and it's been kind of likened, people locals have described it to us as like having a wound, but like leaving the knife in. Obviously for a lot of political reasons they can't actually move it at the moment. Seems like quite an interesting piece there. The main reason, however, that we're in Prishtina is obviously the travelling band that are going to a local radio station, Urban FM. Urban FM seem very fiercely proud of their independent status. They don't have any political leanings one way or the other, and interestingly enough, they seem to have quite a fondness for Manchester as well. So we're going to go check that out. Catch you in a bit.
I'm broke and I ain't got a dime.
So you come from Manchester, the place of what we know, Joy Division, and we talked earlier the factory records and the Happy Mondays and whatever. And so what's the purpose of your coming here?
We've been invited by Manchester Aid to Kosovo initially to be part of a dedication event.
While the boys spread the good word, I chatted to Urban FM founder Ados Rahadani about not just the difficulties in independent radio, but also the complications in developing outputs for culture in Kosovo in general.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have lots of cultural things. Even government or different embassies doesn't spend money about culture. If you have something about politics, they maybe they can give money, but culture is something like it's something for them, like talking about space shuttle, culture we don't spend money about, which is very bad, because people doesn't have lots of things to do, especially youth. They cannot actually travel without visa. They cannot not see lots of things. So it's I mean, Kosovo is still like ghetto a little bit. I don't know how to actually say it. So yeah.
Outside in and staring at the sky. Distract me from your...
Word certainly seemed to be spreading about the park, added to the fact that the Bogujevci children are quite well known in the region, having testified against war criminals in The Hague. With this dedication and courage, it wasn't surprising then that the President of Kosovo himself wanted to meet with him. Fatimir Sejju is only the second ever President of the Democratic Republic of Kosovo. Hailing from the same town as the Bogujevcis themselves, he is a very popular figurehead and represents a nation which considers itself newborn and striving for recognition.
I was inside out by the time I realized. Outside in and staring at the sky.
Okay, we're just about to leave Prishtina when we spotted this, and when I asked what it was, I thought it was important to show you. And obviously we've had a great day in Prishtina. It's great to see how Kosovo's moving on. However, behind me outside the Parliament buildings here in Prishtina are pictures of people who went missing during the war, and in fact are indeed still missing 10 years on.
Take me to the space where I can conjure up your face when the moment holding us was burnt and died.
In part 3, I finally chat to Saranda and Johanna about life in Manchester and why the Peace Park is so important to them. And the peace banner is revealed. Hopefully. In 1999, the North Kosovan municipality of Podujeve was the setting for scenes of ethnic cleansing by Serbian forces. 5 children who survived a horrific massacre and were rehabilitated in Britain were the inspiration behind the creation of the Manchester Peace Park, situated in their birth town but named after their adopted home. With help from Manchester-based charity workers, musicians and artists, The park is almost ready, but first, the peace banner, designed by a variety of people of different ages, ethnicity and walks of life, was about to be unveiled.
Right, well, it's certainly been a busy day. You might remember we were chatting to Steve, him and his son of us, we put together the peace banner. It's now just about time to unveil it. In fact, that's happening now.
Well, I'm not sure if the unveiling was supposed to happen quite like that. Some pretty aggressive yanking going on there from Steve. However, the revealing of a big splash of colour is a great success. Another great example of communities bonding after being touched by a common cause. Also at the unveiling was Lieutenant Colonel David Vassallo, who found the children whilst working as a surgeon in the British Army in 1999.
Through linking in Saranda and Johanna with the specialists back in England, through that email link, sending photos to the specialists, and also giving that to the British Forces commanders, it just moved everyone. And they literally moved heaven and earth. The Royal Air Force flew them out to Manchester, the NHS helped them, all the specialists in Manchester rallied around them and did what they needed to do.
Being in Manchester, we have always had such great support and help, kind of, from right at the beginning, from like the teachers and the nurses and the doctors and, other people, and from like churches and from everywhere, really.
The phone call said, would you take some refugees? So I said, well, you need to tell me a bit about them. And they said, well, they're from Kosovo and their families and themselves were involved in a massacre, and a lot of them are wounded, etc. So I said, right, okay, we'll do what we can to help. Are they Catholics? Yeah. Because we were a Catholic school and we were oversubscribed. We were turning parents away for places for their children, and I knew if I let people in we were in trouble. So they said, well, no, they're Muslims.
So what do you do in that situation then?
I ring my chairman of governors and I said, we've had this invitation, what do you think? And he said to me what he always did in those circumstances, what do you think? And I said, I believe we should take them. And he said, if as a Catholic school we can't accept refugees, we shouldn't be in business.
I am still a student on my last year at Manchester Metropolitan University. Yeah. And I'm doing interactive arts. I'm working through still photographs, but actually making a film through them. It's just because I feel sometimes with photographs you can capture a lot more than actually film it. Because kind of the moment passes when you're filming.
I'm at the same uni as Saranda at MMU. I'm doing graphic design.
Yeah.
My second year now.
What can you tell us a little bit about the projects you're working on?
Well, because whenever I get a chance to do something personal, I try to use my experience and the stuff from here, like the culture, and I try to use that with my work.
They were incredible, absolutely incredible. For a start, the relationships they formed were first. I already said to you, we never had a case of any one of them falling out with anybody else. They just adapted, they picked up the language incredibly quickly. They were wonderful, a credit to the school and everyone else.
I don't say my first home is Kosovo, I just say, no, my second home is Kosovo for some reason. I don't know, I feel like England is my home now, really.
We don't live here. Kind of our memories and kind of what we have from Kosovo, it's when we used to live here. Yeah. And I think that's why it makes our home, in Manchester, because kind of we were living there when we were kids, and we're adults now. So it's like
because we went to school there, went to college, uni now.
Can you tell us about why you kind of came up with the idea to have a park here? Because that's like a little bit of Manchester here. So who kind of came up with the idea?
Well, all of us, really.
I
remember being in Scotland. That's actually where it started.
You don't have to make things up. It's fine.
No, yeah, it's true.
But why do you think it was a good idea? What do you think you were hoping people would get from it?
As we said before as well, we used to go to the park. We used to play and sit around, and it was like like close to where we live, like all the plants, and it was just really nice. And it kind of made us think as well, like, you know, there's a lot of kids in the town, and the only place they can play football is their own garden or in the streets, which made it dangerous, you know, for them. You know, kind of the beauty of parks, you know, you have the swings then where the kids are playing, and then you have this other part where you can just sit and relax and go and play football, you know. There isn't anything, well, there wasn't anything like it here.
How did it feel for you to actually have the park sort of dedicated, and, you know, coming from an idea to get into this stage? Did you think it would be able to happen?
I believed it would, and I think then going to the Eden project and seeing that as, you know, as well, is just, we're like, you know, wow, you know, there's a lot more than just having swings and a football pitch, and you know, and then to kind of see how it has developed and grown, up to this point, it's amazing.
Meanings buried deep within the season.
Just tell us quickly why you thought it was important to put this on.
I think it's important because so far everyone knows from the town what we've done, and we've done so far, and I thought it would be important for young people to just come together, enjoy music, basically, enjoy art.
Look how much good has come out of that. We're here 10 years on, a big peace park, a big peace banner, and the girls are the wonderful girls they are.
It's amazing to see how people can grow into
that. So much good has come out of everyone rallying around them. It's wonderful. They are moving forward. They're forgiven. There's justice involved. They're just moving forward, living their lives with all their families around them, having forgiven, not forgotten, and help bring peace and reconciliation between peoples. Their story is a wonderful story that needs telling.
What do you kind of think when you see the children now as well? The kind of people, well, they're no longer children, it seems funny to use the term.
No. Every time I go back and I see the people I used to work with, I tell them what a great job they did, because they're a credit. They're a credit. And what they've achieved is incredible. I was talking to Fatos today. He is confident about a 2-1. And as a second language, to get a 2-1 degree in the space of 7-8 years is a tremendous achievement.
Well, you've managed to pull that off. What did you have to do today? Because it was literally last night you came up with the idea when we were all singing, didn't you?
Yeah, well, last night we had a great time. We got all together. The band was singing, and we just thought it might be good to just get all the younger people together. And we just got up this morning, went to the radio, announced it, came to the bar owner, said, "Can we do this?" He said, "Yeah," and then we just did it.
So now you're a music promoter then?
Well, you say that, but I don't know.
It's a new career, man.
I hope so, yeah.
There we are, we've done our first MTV-style music interview.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Walking down the line.
In part 4, it's time to finally dedicate the Peace Park, and Saranda and I become Kosovo's answer, Tan and Dek. I'm Dek.
Ladies and gentlemen, give me the travelling band!
Manchester group The Travelling Band are in Kosovo to draw attention to the creation of the Manchester Peace Park, a recreational resource built in honour of loved ones lost during the war in 1999, but for the use of future generations of Kosovars. I took the opportunity to chat to them ahead of the park's actual dedication ceremony as they reflected on their trip.
How do you feel like your music's been received?
I think people have enjoyed it, but whether they've enjoyed it particularly because of our music, I don't know, or maybe it's just nice for them to be hearing live music. We've met some guys here from the Prishtina radio station, and they say there's obviously a lot of music on the radio, a lot of pop music. There's frustrations here that there's not enough bands playing original stuff. So, and especially in the town of Podujeve, we played a gig last night, and Saranda, who we've been coming, here for the dedication and with her family, she said she very much doubts that there's ever been a gig in Podujeve like that. which is, for us, is just like, we can go down to the Night and Day or the Ruby Lounge or, you know, the Deaf Institute, and gigs are just, it's just a gig, but for them it's just like, it's something that they're not used to, so.
It was a real party atmosphere, wasn't it?
Do you think it's something you're going to still be involved with in the future?
There's a lot of talk and a lot of excited ideas, you know, about what to do, but, you know, we're in the moment now, but we need to make sure that we act on them when we get home. It's all very well us coming here and having all these experiences, but we've got to get back and come up with some really strong plans, because there's great opportunities for, you know, the small power we have as a band to just, you know, just play music, and that can have a really good effect on people without us having to do much. But, you know, there's potential for us to come here and maybe, you know, do more concerts, do some workshops in schools, continue to work with the charity to help, you know, bring in our ideas to not only the Peace Park in Podujeve, but also to start making the cultural exchanges between Kosovo and not just Manchester, but the UK as a whole, and pushing them forward. There's lots to be done. Just need some money.
The park that has been designed, obviously that is under development, and it's encouraging people from the local community to get involved and develop it and make it grow and flourish. And we've been discussing about maybe coming back with some other bands that I'm putting on maybe a festival in that space, you know, maybe next year.
I was talking to Saranda, and she was saying that one of the ideas behind the park, this is a big paved area, and, you know, there was meant to be eventually some sort of stage there. So, you know, I mean, apparently our gig last night was probably the first time that would have happened before in Podujeve. But, you know, hopefully, you know, we can come back and encourage people to, you know, to get picking up instruments and playing more gigs.
Miss her till she cried. You know the light appeared to blur within her eyes. Cried along to feel her heart sighing. Well, I know I would rather die. Well, I never felt a love so deep and fast.
The project started for me when I was actually singing at Eden, and Pam Dawes got introduced to me, and a friend of mine said, oh, she makes flags, she's really good at it, get her to go and make flags for your Peace Park. Children here in Podujeve, in about 5 different schools, Women in Action. I did a lot of workshops. Basically the project started because there was a mosaic in Podujeve about a mosaic of Orpheus, and it was stolen during the war, and there was a photograph of this stolen mosaic, and I got a black and white photocopy made up, and I gave it out to all the children that I did the workshop with. So everything started with that source. This is the winner. This was chosen by the artists here in Kosovo, and we laid them all out on the floor, and I let them choose the one they wanted, and the fact was it wasn't too difficult, so I said yes.
Walking down the line, feeling great fine.
The Manchester Peace Park is dedicated to the members of the Bogujevci, Duriqi and Lugalio families killed on the 28th of March 1999. Our hope is that new life, beauty, peace and justice continue to grow from this tragic loss and from the suffering of all in this community. Manchester Aid to Kosovo and the municipality of Podujeve, 28th of March 2009, today. May God bless.
I think the community here in Kosovo, they've gone through hell, and when you're in that situation you tend to shut the doors and just focus on family, and I think what we're trying to do here is to open those doors and get the families backing the community and functioning as a community. We've got a fantastic support network in the UK. You know, we've got people from local churches to bands in Manchester, you know, the Eden Project, we've got Castle Mill Foundry in Oswestry. You know, the web is fantastic. You know, the park is, like I said earlier, the park is the catalyst for lots of different things that are going on now.
Come on, boys, play as a team. Stop. On you go. Go yourself. Go on.
Right, well, that's the end of the game. I think it was about 147, 792. How did you play? Did you enjoy that game? You enjoy it? You enjoyed it? I hope that was thank you. I tell you what, guys, you were missing goals, you were missing passing, but apart from that, you played very well. 6 out of 10. Well done. Well done, mate. Well done, man. 6 out of 10. You were brilliant, actually. You get 7 out of 10. You need to work on your passing. How's that injury? You all right? It's a pretty tough game. We'll be better by next week. Right, well, it's been quite a long day, plenty of things going on, but it's not quite finished yet. There's still time to fit in a bit of a concert at the end. There's a variety of entertainment going on there, and I'm not quite sure. I think I've allowed myself to be coaxed into hosting the evening, which should be quite good. Do you know, I think it kind of reminds me of something my dad used to say to me. He used to say, "No, you've had a nice day, don't spoil it." I hope I don't, Dad. Hope I don't.
But I needn't have worried, because I had Saranda at my side to keep me right and to keep me in check. I bet.
Don't stop. Thank you for coming. Good night.
And what a cultural cavalcade it proved to be, with hypnotic flamenco, ballet and performance from a local school, a fantastic men's 8-part vocal choir that, as it turned out, only actually had 7 members. And of course, Manchester's The Travelling Band were always up for a sing-song. The perfect way for the United Kingdom contingent to say thank you to Podujeve for including us in this dedication and rebuilding process, and for the people and children of Podujeve to say thank you to Manchester for their new Peace Park. To thank Manchester. Manchester. Ah, Manchester. Oh. It is an unfortunate fact of life that atrocities have happened. And sadly, it's often the same areas which have suffered again and again at the hands of the callous and the unscrupulous.
Wanderers this morning came by. Where do they go? Graceful in the morning light, to banner fair, to follow you softly in the cold mountain air.
But surely it isn't a fact that history has to repeat itself. If two communities, entirely unconnected in terms of geography, religion or fortune, can bond through music, art, culture and compassion, then it promises much for the future.
they do not know you anymore.
It is also true that without forgiveness, reconciliation and rebuilding can't really begin. But those words, forgiveness and reconciliation, can be very easily touted by those who've never experienced complete loss, extreme prejudice and total injustice. I wonder if, after only a few years, with a country next door to me that still doesn't fully recognise my independence, I wonder if I would be talking about forgiveness. Which makes it all the more incredible that the majority of voices in Kosovo are talking about peace and progress. And it's heartwarming to know that when they reached out to Manchester and the UK for help in this endeavour, the people didn't turn their backs.
So we have always had such great support and help.
And it was actually the surgeons in Manchester who responded and said, we have got the skills to help these children.
There was no way when I met them and heard their story that we would just let them go.
If as a Catholic school we can't accept refugees, we shouldn't be in business.
When she said that she wanted the travelling band to come out to Podujeve, it was just like, well, yeah, totally.
Look how much good has come out of that. A big peace park, a big peace banner.
Our hope is that new life, beauty, peace and justice continue to grow.
What I have done, I'm turning myself to a deed.
Let's make a deal. If you beat me, I will make you a present.
On the swings.
Looks that?
Yeah. Put it on that.
It's the thing.
Manchester.